Okay, so we're ready for the next question. What I've done is I'm going to combine two of these because they seem to be similar. They talk about taxes. That's always a favorite subject, I think, for everyone during elections. And one of the questions says, what would you do about our taxes, which increase every year? And that's the impression folks have. But the other one says, does the county budget include funds to repair roads and bridges? If so, where is the money being spent? Why do we need a 25-cent or quarter-cent sales tax if the money's already there? So these are sort of related. So if you could just spend a couple minutes, tell us about, are the citizens getting their money's worth for the taxes being collected? And why does it increase every year? How would you approach that?
Well, I would just have to tell them that the cost of everything, fuel, our costs are going up. So we got to come up with the money to pay the taxes. We have to pay taxes to be able to repair bridges and roads, and the cost of fuel and manpower and everything else goes up. So do taxes, unfortunately.
I think that's a good question. To answer the part about the roads and bridges, part of the money that's paying for the roads and bridges is already coming from the quarter-cent sales tax that's been in place for 10 years now, the first time around. So I think that's a big part of it, and it's one of those things where you can always find ways to spend money more wisely. But so it's I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it can't be done better, but I think they're doing a pretty good job of it right now. And I think he hit the nail on the head as far as why costs of just the same reason that the cost of your budget go up every year. If you look at the year-to-year budget of all the individual departments of the county, there's not anybody out there that's all of a sudden we want to hire 20 more people, and it's just incrementalism and just growing because the cost of everything grows. Just like your grocery bill is more this year than it was last year. So I think that's important. But another part of the problem that we have is coming from the state. Is we have a lot of the people in Topeka and the people in Washington are big fans of kicking the can down the road. So they can say they didn't raise their taxes, but they might cut some of the funding for the things that the county is required by law to do, and then we get the funding cut out from under us from the state. So we left with no choice. We have to perform these services. We lost the money that was paying for them. And so we have to do one of the two things. Either we raise your property taxes or we raise your sales taxes. Because that money's got to come from somewhere. So I think that's part of it too. And our job as county commissioners is to be watchdogs of your tax dollars, to make sure that they're not raised any more than they absolutely have to be. And to make sure that, by golly, if we're going to take your money, your property tax money, that we're going to spend it wisely, and that we're going to give you some return on your investment. And so I think that's what I would want to do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that your property taxes will not go up, the mill levy will not go up in the next 4 years. I think anybody who tells you that is just telling you what you want to hear. But what I will say is that I think what I want to do is just make sure that we keep it under control. We fight the state kicking the can down the road, and make sure that they're spent wisely once they do come in. So.
Well, I've had quite a bit of experience in reviewing budgets after being on the school board here in Manhattan for 8 years, and then on the city commission for 8 years, and working at Farm Bureau where we had some pretty good budgets. We had to keep make sure we didn't overspend. Budgets are something that we review each year. It's a planning tool. It's what we think we can do. And we try to figure out how the money is going to be prioritized, and then how we're going to spend it. And then you have to hear all the discussion from all the different staffs and the people. Everybody wants to put in some input. But I'll tell you one thing. In the 16 years I've served in public office on the school board or the city commission, I bet I haven't counted 5 or 6 people at any of the budget here, when we've approved the budget. We hear a lot of this talk about budget. What we have to do is set the priorities, figure out how we can pay for them, try to hold the taxes to a reasonable, or where they are, and perhaps figure a way to be more efficient and to even maybe, God bless us, reduce taxes. It's hard to do. I know that from serving in office. But decisions have to be made, and back to the question, if the quarter cent sales tax is not included as income in the budget, what I said earlier is going to happen. Somewhere, somehow, priorities are going to have to change, and somebody's going to either have to make reductions or pay for it, and that will be decided after these budget hearings.
Well, Commissioner Johnson and his peers called a staff meeting just last Monday afternoon, I believe at noon, and we're pretty pointed with the county staff and asked, you know, or to use part of the question, it just inches up a little bit. I forget what the percentage Commissioner McCullough stated, but you know, said staff, we've got to answer to the constituents. You've got to look at your departments. You've got to look at what you control and what can we do better. They've done a terrific job, and technology is the simple thing to point to. There has been a lot of efficiencies introduced to Riley County through technology, and I applaud them for that. But it's also that the county has grown, and that gives us the luxury, quite frankly, if we'd be shrinking, we'd be in a world of hurt. But the county has grown, and now is the time. I appreciate that the sitting commission challenged the staff, because it's really next year. I mean, this budget process is pretty well through. So they've challenged the staff, and that's what needs to happen. That's what you do in your businesses. That's what you do in your home. You got to constantly rethink things. And to go off Mr. Fisher's comment, people have got to participate in that public process. I've been talking to people in the industry. Public Works is a specific interest of mine. And, you know, the bidding process, there was a bid put out that rock was delivered to the county shops, and then county shops loaded that rock into trucks and hauled it back almost to the quarry that it came from. Well, that's obviously, you know, we got to figure out a way not to do those sorts of things. And I would comment on the road and bridge issue, the question about is there money? There is money in the budget, because the sitting commission doesn't know if the quarter cent sales tax will be approved or not. But 20 years ago, before the 10-year that's just ending now, obviously there was some deficiencies in maintaining our roads and bridges. We wouldn't be in this place if that hadn't occurred. Thank you.
Well, that's a very good question, Wynn. It's one thing I wondered about too. Did what happened to the money that was budgeted before, prior to the 10 years of the half-cent sales tax? And knowing the people that work for Raleigh County, I have a lot of confidence in them. They do a good job. So I didn't go check in during the past 10 years to see where that money went. I realized that the sales tax let us do additional repairs and on bridges that were getting in bad shape. And so my assumption is that, you know, that the county, we still have a budget other than the sales tax for road and bridge repair. And that's good because, as Larry pointed out, what happened is the price of materials escalated in the last 10 years quite a bit. The farm equipment has gotten tremendously larger. You can't run through the narrow bridges with the tall rails. There's a lot of additional expense. Now, if we'd have stayed with the annual budget, what we budget out of normal mill levy for road and bridge, we'd be in very bad shape right now. So I think the money, the past 10 years have been very well spent. And there again, it's not up to me. The voters are going to have to approve the quarter cent sales tax, and my job's only going to be to see to it that it's well spent.
Well, this two-part question is on the quarter cent sales tax. Why is it there to perform something that may have been required by the regular property tax? The quarter cent is simply a component of how we get to repair our bridges and roads. It is one of the vital portions of keeping our mill levy low. Mill levies, keeping it low, allows the American dream to occur. If taxes go skyrocketing on property, most people can't afford it. We do need to make a huge effort to keep our property tax as low as we can. This is a great vehicle for doing that. we have to make our government very, very efficient. And before you all leave tonight, you ought to thank Commissioner Alvin Johnson for his efforts at keeping our government very, very efficient. When he first came in, he got $500,000, was that it? $500,000 off just through efficiencies. And that's good government. Now, why is it increasing? I think we've all kind of beat around the bush here, but it is deferred maintenance, and deferred maintenance on these culverts and these bridges has occurred because of what I would consider unfunded mandates. We had to budget other places. We had to take our funding and apply it someplace else. Larry's going to tell you that we've got culverts out there that are still old stone culverts put together years ago. The mortar has departed. Another example of why this maintenance has been deferred is deficit budget spending, not on us, by other governments. That has an impact on us. We get imposed with other obligations, such as the health department. We've got to do it.